Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Dr. Sharon Saline, author of What Your ADHD Child Wishes You Knew, Working Together to Empower Kids for Success in School and Life. Dr. Sharon, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's great to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
I am ready to begin.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Stick with it. Make special times that you set aside for writing and give yourself breaks during those times. So I'm going to write for a certain amount of time, then I'm going to take a break, because when you step away from your work, your brain is still cooking and coming up with ideas, and it refreshes you. So stick with your project, give yourself some breaks, and keep your vision.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
For me, I think the hardest part was actually getting an agent. I decided to go that route. There are people who self-publish. I cannot speak to that. So it was, it took a lot of time for me to continue to reach out to people. People didn't like my book. People thought I should do it a different way, until I finally found someone who said, "This is great. I like this book. I think we can get this published."
And let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Well, my book is in a particular area. It has to do with ADHD. And so I actually hired a marketing specialist who was familiar with the ADHD world and worked in the ADHD world. And so she was able to introduce me to a lot of other people in this realm that I didn't know, who gave a review, who opened up their podcasts for me, who liked my book and promoted it on Facebook, where I did some Facebook Lives. So making sure, if you're writing a nonfiction book, that you can find someone in your area who can help you promote your book, who has contacts already. And for fiction, it's a different story altogether. And quite honestly, I'm just not super knowledgeable about that.
Well, I like that you brought up the fact that you actually hired a marketing specialist. And not only did you do that, you actually hired someone specifically for your niche, which I think is one of the best strategies that you can do. And especially with the area that you're talking about with helping ADHD children, because they clearly know the area, they understand it. They're also able to position you as speaking on specific podcasts in those areas as well. So it's a very smart move with what you've done.
And that made all the difference. And this person knew about ADHD in general, children, adults, couples, families. She just knew the world, the universe. And as a sort of first-time author, I didn't have entree to these people. And so it was totally worth it. And I still work with her today. And she is really my right-hand person. She helps guide my career. She helps me think about, what I might want to write next. It's really invaluable.
Excellent. Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, I'd have to say, because I'm speaking about prescriptive nonfiction, I will say my favorite book that really influenced me and my work and led me to really be brave enough to write my own book was Smart But Scattered by Peg Dawson and Richard Guare, because they showed in their book that actually there are kids out there who are scattered, whose parents need help. They have concrete tools that those parents can use. And it let me know that there's a market for this book. There's a niche. What was missing in that niche, in my opinion, were the voices of kids themselves and how parents and kids could work together for solutions. And so their book pointed me in that direction.
And for a final quote, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is by Rabbi Hillel. "If I am not for myself, who will be? If I am not for others, what am I? If not now, when?
Excellent. And why is that your favorite quote?
Because we have to think about ourselves and taking care of ourselves first, but we can't only focus on that. We need to think about our relationships, our community, what we can give back to other people, because when we give to people is when we feel really good about ourselves. And what are we waiting for? I also think that it has to do with change. If I'm going to make a change, what am I waiting for? Let's try that change now. And particularly for people living with ADHD who get a lot of negative feedback about what they could do differently or should do differently, having courage to make a change and believe in themselves is a big step.
Well, and as for someone who has personally dealt with ADHD my entire life, I thank you for the book and for what you're doing for helping, because we need more books out there so people can understand this.
Well, you're most welcome. It was a pleasure to write this book, and I've gotten very positive reception. And in fact, today I received an email from someone who said, "I loved your book. Can I share parts of it with my 10-year-old? What do you think?" And my response is absolutely. You know, kids who are growing up with ADHD need to understand their brains. Adults with ADHD need to understand their brains. Then you can access it, focus on your strengths, enhance them, and build up your weaknesses.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Sharon, I want to thank you once again for being a guest on this show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
The best way to find me online is at my website, www.drsharonsaline.com, where I have a number of free resources for people living with ADHD, parenting kids with ADHD. And you can also connect with me via Facebook. I have a Facebook page, and that is where I often post articles and suggestions and links to things that I find interesting about general psychology, mindfulness, parenting, and of course, living with a different type of brain, a differently wired brain, as it were.
Dr. Sharon, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.